In 2022, I started this channel off with a top 25 roller coasters video. When I wrote that video in December 2022, I had only 68 coaster credits. But as of the recording of this video, April 13th, 2024, I now have 128 credits. Since I've made that original video, I visited 12 different parks at least once, 9 new parks, and added 60 new credits to my ranking. In preparation for this video, I have rebuilt my entire ranking from scratch, and have come up with my definitive top 25 as of April 2024. I rank these rides based on how fun I find them. While some of these rides may be objectively better than others, I don't rank them that way. Before we jump right in, please consider leaving a like and comment because it does help against the YouTube algorithm. Anyway, back to the video. Starting off at number 25 is Scream at Six Flags Magic Mountain. It making the list is probably really controversial, but I just find this ride so fun. While it is just a parking lot coaster, I love the different forces throughout its layout. My favorite moment has got to be the 0G roll, but the second half is packed with positive Gs because the mid-course barely slows you down. I heard so many things about this ride's rattle, but that was also nowhere to be seen. It's nothing special, but Scream is pure fun from beginning to end. It's a ride that I never skip when I'm at Magic Mountain, but it's definitely not the best B&M looper in the park. That title would go to number 24, The Riddler's Revenge. It took me a bit to warm up to stand-up coasters, but Riddler is by far my favorite. It has one of the best layouts of any B&M looper. The positive Gs this ride packs are just insane. It's hard to pick a favorite part of the ride because it's just rapid fire inversions and elements. The first half is just awesome, and while the second half isn't as good, it still delivers a decent amount of positive Gs. It's such a long and complete experience that I can't help but love it. I'd probably have it higher if it was a sit-down ride, but the stand-up trains aren't enough for it not to make this list. Coming in at number 23 is the Coney Island Cyclone. This classic coaster is approaching its 100th anniversary, but it still somehow delivers such an amazing ride. There's not a dull moment on this thing, and it's shockingly smooth. There's so many great airtime moments, and it has some of the best laterals on any coaster. It's truly a timeless ride and should be on everyone's bucket list. Coming in at number 22 is the new Texas Giant at Six Flags Over Texas. The original RMC is a bit outdated compared to its newer counterparts, but it's still a blast from start to finish. I'd argue the first half specifically still holds up. That drop is great, the overbanks are fun, and the airtime is still great to this day. I just love this ride. I've marathoned it on multiple occasions, and I plan to keep that tradition going when I visit again later this week. Number 21 is a new credit for 2023, Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City. This is one of the earlier RMCs, and I think it's about on par with Texas Giant in many ways. It has some great inversions and airtime, but it does have a lot of moments that really don't hit, which is keeping me from putting it higher. My rides were morning rides, so it does probably need to warm up. The bunny hill followed by the barrel roll is probably my favorite moment on the ride. Outlaw Run is just so unique, and I'm glad I was able to ride it last year. It is definitely a back row ride though. Coming in at number 20 is West Coast Racers at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This racing premier launch coaster is really fun. Its long and action-packed layout make it one of the park's best, but it does feel like a really good family coaster in a lot of ways. I find it hard to believe it has a 54-inch height requirement because it really isn't that intense. I find myself choosing full throttle over this all the time because of that. Not to say it's bad, because this is a great ride, but it just isn't as thrilling as it would seem. It's a truly great ride, you just need to go in knowing what to expect. Glass smooth fun with one really intense moment each lap. For number 19, we go across the country for a far more intense coaster, Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure. This B&M Hyper is a blast from start to finish. In 2023, it was running better than ever. There are so many things to love about this ride. The airtime-filled drop and camelbacks, the positive G-filled helix and hammerhead turnaround, the bunny hill finale. It's just the complete package when it comes to hypers. My favorite moment had to be the turn into the helix. It delivers some insane airtime, especially on the right-hand seats. This is a must ride when at Great Adventure and really complements the park's lineup. Number 18 is sticking with B&M with Wildfire at Silver Dollar City. People love to gush about its settings, so I had no idea what to expect from the actual ride. And Wildfire just blew me away. The drop delivers some amazing airtime, and the first inversion made me gray out from the positive Gs. The inversions are taken at such fast speeds that they all blend together. It's hard to process the ride until you're at the final brake run. It's short, sweet, and some of the best of 90s B&M. It shouldn't be slept on. Making our way back to California for number 17, X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This is the only aerodynamics 4th dimension coaster ever built, serving as a prototype, and with the amount of issues that this thing has, that isn't surprising at all. There are some dead moments on the ride like the turnaround, but its highs outweigh its lows. X2 has what I'd argue is the best first drop on any roller coaster. It rotates riders face first at the ground. It's such a surreal element, and it's followed by some of the most jaw-dropping elements on any coaster. The fact this ride exists is just insane. Yeah, it's rough. Yeah, it desperately needs a retrack. It's a train wreck, but it's a fun train wreck. Everyone needs to ride this at least once. Coming in at number 16 is Six Flags Great Adventures Batman the Ride clone. This is one of the original clones, and it's still glass smooth 30 years later. My most recent rides were some of the most intense I've gotten on any of the Bat clones. They were morning rides, but the ride hauled through the layout. I grayed out on multiple occasions. It's intense, smooth, and it's a great addition to Great Adventures lineup, but it's only my second favorite Bat clone. My favorite Bat clone is by far the one at Six Flags St. Louis, landing in the 15th spot. This thing feels like it's gonna fly off the tracks. The positive G's are dialed up to 11 on this ride. There are no moments to breathe as this thing pins you to your seat for its entirety. Six Flags St. Louis has only one B&M, but it's an amazing one. For number 14, I have to go with Full Throttle at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This ride is always a blast. It's filled with great hang time moments, and the launches have such a nice kick to them. The backwards launch into the dive loop gives some of the best hang time I've ever experienced. And the drop off the loop while trimmed is one of the best drops in the park. It's short and sweet. I wish the drop wasn't trimmed, but that one issue isn't enough to not make the list. Going across the park for number 13, Tatsu at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This B&M flyer is massive, and there's nothing quite like it. This ride is so graceful with its twists and turns. Its sense of scale and speed are top tier. It's just an amazing ride overall. I cannot imagine this park without this gem. The number 12th spot easily goes to King Dakar at Six Flags Great Adventure. Words cannot describe what this ride is like. It's the current tallest roller coaster in the world with some decent airtime and bone-crushing positive G's. But its best element is easily the hydraulic launch. This is one of the most demonic elements on any roller coaster, especially in the front row. That launch alone lands it in the 12th spot. Just a fantastic ride. Just missing the top 10 is Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast. This ranking is shared by both the St. Louis clone and the Over Texas clone when I last rode in reverse. I'm not sure which I like more, but as of the week I'm uploading this video, I will be getting back to Over Texas, so maybe I'll give an update to that ride's review. There are so many great elements packed into this shuttle coaster. That backwards launch is great, and every inversion and turnaround has bone-crushing positive G's. Some of the most I've felt on any coaster. My favorite element by far is that backwards spike, which when you're about halfway up will launch you. It's such a strange feeling, and it's truly one of a kind. It's one of my favorite elements on my favorite shuttle coaster. Kicking off the top 10 is Wonder Woman Flight of Courage at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This RMC Raptor is such a delight. The drop is fantastic, one of the best in the park. Its inversions are whippy and full of hang time. Its airtime is powerful, its positive G's are bone crushing. What could I possibly say about this wonderful ride? My favorite part is between that first dive loop and the drop off the mid-course, which leads into that tight turnaround. Wonder Woman is such a fun ride, and while it honestly dropped down for me, I still love riding it every visit to the park. For number 9, I have to go with my home park's flagship attraction, Canyon Blaster at Adventure Dome. This late aero looper is the full package, packing some great airtime and positive G's into its short and simple layout, as well as some decent laterals from time to time. It's hard to choose a favorite moment because everything flows so well on this ride. From the airtime filled drop and ejector hill, to the bone crushing double loops. This ride dives in and out of the rockwork of the park, and it makes it one of the most memorable aeros for that. It's short and sweet and has a bite to it, which is why I love riding it to this day. So before I get to number 8, I should mention the next 5 entries are really hard to choose from. So 8 through 4 are pretty much a 5-way tie. With that in mind, let's get to number 8, Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain. I've had a pretty rocky history with this ride, and after getting plenty of rides my last few visits, I feel pretty confident saying it is the best Magic Mountain has to offer, and one of the best coasters on the West Coast. This is a fantastic ride when it comes to both tracks. There isn't really a dead dead moment on either, but the lack of dueling will always be felt no matter how much you enjoy the ride. It's the ride's main gimmick and it's something extremely rare to get. And on top of that, the pause for the second lift that just kills the pacing. With that, I really don't see either side being better than, say, Twisted Cyclone. But even with that, it's still an amazing ride. Those two drops are insane and it's packed with airtime from start to finish. Speaking of, Twisted Cyclone at Six Flags Over Georgia grabs the number 7 spot. This RMC is short, sweet, and packed with some insane airtime. The reverse Cobra roll is such a cool element, and that drop and wave turn are such standouts. But even the filler elements deliver amazing forces. This is a really underappreciated ride. Not top tier RMC, but a great one nonetheless. Sticking at Six Flags Over Georgia, Goliath takes the number 6 spot. This ride is everything you could possibly want in a B&M Hyper. It has some of the best airtime on any Hyper in general, with borderline ejector in some spots, a bone-crushing downward helix, and some of the best pacing on any Hyper. This is just a fantastic ride from start to finish, and I'm really excited to get back to it later this year. Kicking off the top 5 is El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure. If you've followed me for a while, you would know that I did not get great first impressions for this ride, but 2023 redeemed it of its faults in my eyes, delivering a smooth and intense ride. It has some of the best ejector on any coaster, and it also packs some great positive Gs. A wooden coaster of this scale is just insane in all of the right ways. It definitely needs to warm up, but when it's running good, it's amazing. It's definitely a contender for the best coaster in the Northeast, but I'd give that title to another ride. Coming in at number 4 is Superman at Six Flags New England. This ride just blew me away when I rode it back in 2022. It has all of the positives of El Toro on glass smooth steel track. It's full of airtime and positive Gs, twists and turns, and it doesn't let down at all. It's been so long that I unfortunately don't remember all of the details, but I'd come back to this park for Superman alone. It's such a stunning ride and deserves more recognition in the coaster community. Starting the top 3 is Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City. Time Traveler is such an unreal ride. Its spinning truly makes these rather common elements amazing. The drop, inversions, twists and turns, they're all great, but the one that really stuck with me was that airtime hill towards the middle of the ride. The sideways or backwards ejector was just insane. This is by far my favorite ride at Silver Dollar City, and it blew me away last year. The runner-up is Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. This RMC hybrid is just nuts. Its dives on and off the quarry wall are something you won't find anywhere else. There's so many great moments with this ride. It's packed with so much intense and non-stop airtime. The first drop is such an insane element, and all the small pops deliver shockingly strong airtime. It's my favorite new credit of 2023, and it's a ride that everyone should go out of their way for. But beating it to the number 1 spot is Viper at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This Aero Mega Looper may be a bit controversial, but I love it. It's forceful and a pure adrenaline rush. Viper brings the best of Aero to the table, all the good and bad. It's janky, intense, and at least for 2024 is my favorite roller coaster I've ridden. But that's all I got for the list. It's fun to look back every year and see what has changed, and a lot has changed from my previous ranking. If you haven't already, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, and a comment with your top roller coasters. I'd love to hear other people's rankings. If you want more of my rankings, I have a video for my new credits of 2023 popping up right now. I'll see you there.